Hey, come on over. Mom's not home till 6, and we're exploring the TV shows, movies, and pop culture media that made us all turn down the volume so our parents wouldn't hear. We're going to build our intimacy literacy and dig into all the weird messages we took from pop culture about sex, relationships, and ourselves. Because, let's be honest, this was all the sex ed we got.
Today, good people, we are discussing A Knight's Tale, and I'm so excited to introduce the lady with all the best courtly favors, defender of Italian virginity, Veronica Dress von Lichtenstein, sexuality educator, coach, intimacy director for stage and screen, Veronica. Hello.
Honored to be here. I am joined by this person I just found walking naked around the countryside, spitting bars.
Trudging.
Your favorite bard that isn't Shakespeare with a gambling problem. We have Blair Somerville Chaucer, who is a sex and relationship therapist specializing in queer relationships and all of the best kinky shit. Blair, what a film.
What a film.
romp.
What a romp.
Before we get into our quickie, I need to know, how are you doing? How's your heart? How's your spirit after watching this film?
You know, shout out North Carolina public school systems. This is another one that I watched in school as part of my education when we were covering
Rolled in
the
the big
Tales.
TV.
Yeah, rolled in the big ass TV. Well, actually, for this one, I think it was up in the corner in the room, and we had a really short English teacher, and she would beg someone else to mash that button for me.
Mash that button.
Mash that button for me. That's what she said.
I love that. That's great. I had never seen this movie until I started dating my partner, Nat. This is one of their core childhood movies, which we'll get into. But I hadn't seen it maybe like in the last 2 years I've seen it. So it's fresh for me still.
Wow.
But it does have one of my favorite things a movie can have, which is what?
Heath Ledger.
Well, yes. And second is?
Is it music? Is it the music? Because the music is fun.
But more specific.
Oh my God, wait. I feel like I'm failing a quiz about your favorite things. What is it?
A dance scene.
Oh, the dance. Oh, yeah, the little dance scene. That was fun.
Yes. Ugh, it's so good. Oh my gosh.
That was
Okay.
cute.
Here we are. You are much more practiced in this film than I am. I feel like this movie had more action than most we've watched. Not even sexual action, honestly, but like jousting. It felt like a different genre from what we normally watch, which is funny because like on paper, it's exactly the genre.
Yeah.
However, it was a lot of sporty spice time.
Yeah, there was adventure. There was a clashing of steel. There was armor. There's horses.
There was a point system.
There's a point system.
There was a light war and some scrolls.
There's plenty of scrolls.
So many scrolls.
So many scrolls.
Oh my God. Everybody, we get it with the scrolls. Okay, so for those of you who did not mash that button and have never seen this before, I'll also, as an aside, I love that that's your core memory of this. And last night, Nat and I watched it on DVD.
Oh my God.
Which makes it feel more appropriate for this podcast.
That's good.
Streaming, but like pulling out the DVD binder. Hold on, it's right here.
The DVD binder?
Imagine a DVD binder. All right, close your eyes and imagine it.
Okay, yeah, I remember those.
Open your eyes. Is this what you imagined?
Yes. That is the DVD binder.
Alphabetized.
Oh my God. Wait, of the legit ones though. See, I had my bootleg DVD binder back in the day.
I bet there are probably bootlegs in. Well, I don't know. My partner is a pretty upstanding gentleman. They're pretty honest. However, Muppet Treasure Island, we could unpack that. Let's do a whole Muppet season.
Whoa. Next theme. Next theme unlocked. Foreshadowing.
Okay. Anyway. If you have not seen it on your DVD player, on a charter bus on the way to a school field trip in the middle of a school day during finals week when the teachers are over you and they're like, we're just going to watch this because we're learning about the Canterbury Tales. Then allow me to give you a quickie. This film stars, you already heard it, the hottiest of hot, Heath Ledger. This was filmed in 2001, which is to me one of the best times for a movie to happen because it still has some of that 90s sensibility, but it feels a little bit more current. It's just like this great transitional time. I love a liminal space. It's a medieval action comedy, and it follows William Thatcher, who goes by the alter ego of Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein.
From Gelderland.
From Gelderland. That is Heath Ledger. So his real name is William Thatcher. He's a peasant squire who, when he and the other guys who wander around with their lord, who is a knight who does jousting, they see that he gets injured in a battle and he dies. He dies halfway through. Yeah. And in a moment of decision making, they decide, I think we can't let this money situation go to waste. Like, this is a source of income. What if Heath Ledger makes himself into a knight and we make up a name? So it all starts with a ruse. So he disguises himself as a nobleman because only noblemen who have like noble blood, I think 4 to 6 generations back, are able to compete in jousting tournaments. So he defies strict class laws to, quote, change his stars, which is a phrase that he got from his dad when he was a small child. It'll come up. He navigates romance, rivalry, and rock and roll fueled jousts. So, like I said, his master suddenly dies mid-tournament. They decide, Heath Ledger, you're the hottiest, boom bodiest. You got to take his place in the joust to win the prize money. They realize, after a delightful montage of him practicing with his motley crew of friends, that he's got a talent for it. So Watt and Roland, who are his friends, decide, like, let's do it. We're going to forge a noble pedigree and tour the European circuit of jousting. They happen to stumble upon a naked, destitute writer on a path who happened to be Geoffrey Chaucer, who agrees for a price to forge this noble pedigree. Basically, he forges, like, he's like a notary. He forges these documents. He's got a gift for the written word, which was rare at the time, especially for folks of their class, right, to be able to read and write. And so, thank goodness they stumble upon him. He also has a bit of the showbiz bug and turns out to be an excellent MC when he's introducing Sir Ulrich / Heath Ledger / William. When they get there, he falls deeply in love with this woman whose name he does not know for a good portion of the film. She's like an upper-class noblewoman. We find out her name is Lady Jocelyn. We also see very early on that he earns the bitter hatred of the arrogant and sinister Count Adhemar, his main competitor for the joust and for the lady's heart. This is played by the guy who is the villain in the movie The Holiday as well, Jasper. So he just plays villains, this dude.
Oh my God. Yeah, he does a good villain seething stare.
He does. Eventually, William's secret is exposed when he returns to London to visit his impoverished blind father, breaking the law by assuming this noble title. Count Adhemar is like obsessed with Heath Ledger and basically follows him during this London visit and he's the one who sees that he is like in this shitty ass neighborhood and hanging out with his dad. So he tells the police William is going to be arrested. However, the intervention of Edward the Black Prince grants William a royal pardon and knights him, because there's a moment early on where William is getting ready to joust, and it turns out people start whispering. It gets really weird, and people realize that Edward the Prince is his opponent, and it
in
is
disguise.
In disguise. They're both in disguise because Heath Ledger, is is in disguise pretending to be more noble than he is, and Prince Edward is in disguise trying to appear less noble than he is because nobody wants to potentially injure a member of the royal family, right? Like that would be treasonous.
Yeah.
And so Prince Edward is really touched when Heath Ledger does go to fight him. Like he's like, no, like we're both doing the same thing here. So let's go for it.
He wants to joust, let's joust.
Yeah, like who are we to keep people from doing the things they love? Mm-hmm. So at the very end of the movie, when Heath Ledger is like in the, what do you call those?
Oh, the stocks.
The stocks, yeah. He's got his little arms through the thing, and his head is through the thing, and all the townspeople are making fun of him. Prince Edward shows up and pardons him and gives him a knightly status. So now he has this new legitimate status, and he's able to return to the world championship just in time to face off against Count Adhemar. Mm-hmm. Despite some dastardly cheating from Count Adhemar that wounds William, he perseveres and defeats him, winning both the tournament and the heart of Lady Jocelyn. Mm-hmm. It's fun for the whole family. Yeah. Tears are shed. Points are made. People fall off horses.
Yeah.
It's truly fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
And they're throughout the whole thing, just to give you a taste, people, is like a fun rock and roll soundtrack, mm-hmm. as well as their costumes really, they really toe the line between like, yes, this is Renaissance era, but also are we in the 70s? Are we in Almost Famous?
They were fun.
It's very Almost Famous tunics, which I guess makes sense because the 70s tunic style kind of is peasant shirt energy. So they really leaned mm-hmm. into that in a way that was delightful to behold. Very avant-garde costuming.
Yeah.
That's what happened. We joust. We fall in love. We're probably going to get in most to the relationship between Heath Ledger, William. Do we want to call him William or Ulrich? Let's just decide.
Let's call him William. Because by the end, he's now officially like Sir William. So,
mm-hmm. And Jocelyn, Lady Jocelyn, knows him as William pretty early mm-hmm. on. She gets the goss that his valets call him William.
Yeah.
A lot of his jousting championship stuff is really colored by him proving his love for her mm-hmm. and he and his compatriots negotiating what they think women want in order to be wooed versus mm-hmm. what they actually want. And Jocelyn is I love her as a character because she turns this whole noble lady damsel thing on its head in really juicy ways. But before we get into their romance, because I think that's going to be a bulk of our conversation, mm-hmm. what other things stood out to you from a wide view? Let's widen the aperture. What relationships felt really juicy to you?
From a wider view, this movie had a lot of the like early 2000s, 90s, like misogynistic humor that in some ways the movie was saying like, isn't this stupid to be misogynistic? Yes. And sometimes though felt a little like it is just misogynistic because they leaned a lot into the like, who can understand women anyway? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They really liked that sort of line. But overall, it's a really funny movie and I love it. Mm-hmm. I low-key sort of ship Watt, who is Alan Tudyk, and Chaucer. I feel like they had a little bit of chemistry going on, especially by the end. Mm-hmm. I feel like there could have been something there.
That would have been lovely. I think to your point about the misogyny, because there is quite a bit. And agreed, they do a really lovely job of calling it out in their mm-hmm. own script, right?
Yeah.
I think even their comments that are like, who understands women anyway, is beautifully troubled by the fact that they end up enlisting the support and then friendship of a female farrier, which is like the person who does horseshoes, mm-hmm. Because none of the people who make armor want to do William a solid and make him armor that he'll pay them for later when he wins. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, you can go talk to the farrier. And he's like, what? It's a woman. and he's a dick about it. And then she makes the best fucking armor in the world. And for the rest of the time is a person in their small group who calls bullshit on the misogynistic comments.
Yeah, and
Would
she
love
like
for
invents steel, right? In the movie.
she does.
Invented steel. Yes. Yeah. There's a few times where they sort of act like she doesn't know anything. She's just a woman. And she proves them wrong by being very capable.
Right. Mm-hmm. And would love for like someone else in their friend group to call bullshit on it and not have it just be the woman who's in the friend group to be like, dumb bitches.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? But there are tender moments of the group talking through like how to write a love letter.
Okay,
and
that
they
was
get
one
really
of my
vulnerable.
favorite scenes. It was so sweet because they have like, so William has been apart from Jocelyn for a while. The last time they spoke, they had this little argument. And so he's trying to write her a letter and he's dictating it to their bard, Chaucer, who's writing it down. And everyone sort of pitches in and shares different like memories of things they've said or things they've felt for like times they've been heartbroken.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really sweet because it seems rare to have movies about romance include stuff about relationships that have ended for a whole variety of reasons and not necessarily in like a, so this is just setting them up for the new relationship they're going to be in.
Yes, I agree. And it was like a very vulnerable and earnest display of tenderness, I think, from these men who otherwise are kind of doing the whole like energy, you know? And this is like a moment where they're like, oh, I was in love. Yeah. And when she and I ended, I said this. And it all makes it into the letter. And she reads the letter and is so touched by it. Too touched by it because then she's like, tell me poetry now. And he's like, well, actually, you don't know the amount of work it took for us to come up with that.
Yeah. It was a group effort.
Yeah, it was a group project, and you're thinking it was solo. But it doesn't mean it was dishonest by any means. Like, I think she could have thought, wow, so you didn't even write this yourself? Because I think he did. He did say a lot of it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely really beautiful parts that are embellished or the contributions of love stories of his friends that are used. It's, I think their relationship, Jocelyn and Heath's, is really fun and very simple, it feels to me.
Yeah, this was another one of those movies. We've talked about this before where I'm watching it. I'm having fun. I'm like, oh yeah, I hope they'll be together. They're clearly the main pair. I love them together. They're so fun. But then I stop and think about it and I'm like, what do they actually, why though? They're just both hot and have some chemistry together. They don't seem to actually talk about anything substantial to give us anything that they like have in common or goals.
They have nothing in common.
They agree on like nothing.
They have nothing in common. I think she admires his character. I think that's a big theme for him is as a knight. He takes it very seriously. And I think the only part of him that is duplicitous is that he had to lie about his heritage to get to be in the space.
Yeah.
But I think that the actual embodiment of knighthood is something he takes really seriously. And we see in flashbacks that as a child, he deeply dreamt of being able to be a knight. But, you know, logistically, it felt unrealistic because it's not your call to make. It's your bloodlines.
You're kind of born into it or you're not.
Yeah. And so he takes like his, I don't know if the word is pride, but his integrity and his honesty and his virtues like very seriously. I think in an underdeveloped way sometime. Like they both feel, everybody feels very young except for the one valet guy.
Roland?
Maybe? I don't know which. Is it Roland?
The one who's not Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, the one who's not Alan Tudyk. Who's a little bit older. He feels like he's a much more grounded adult human, whereas the others just feel like silly boys a lot of the time, which is fine. They are young. And I think Jocelyn respects him and admires his virtue. I think she's almost in a weird twist, like into him playing hard to get, because he's the only knight that has not sent word that he wants to win the tournament in her name, which is basically like, hey, I think you're hot. This is for you, baby, which apparently all the other knights are doing. And the fact that he isn't, I think, is a challenge to her in a way that is unique, because all she hears about is how beautiful she is.
Yeah.
Which
she is.
She's stunning. Yes. And I think it's interesting, given that Heath Ledger's pursuit style works, because that's mostly what he talks about too.
Yeah, I think he takes a lot of the knightly stuff very seriously, and like, I'm chivalrous, I'm a good guy, I'm strong, I'm gonna win, I'm honest, I'm not gonna cheat. But he hasn't grown up in it, so he doesn't know the like manners game and like the way you are supposed to talk about these things. So whenever he talks to her, he's really straightforward in a way that I think other knights are not with her.
Yeah.
And he initially doesn't promise to win for her, because he's like, well, I just want to win. And that's what irritates her about all the other knights promising, I'm going to win this for you. She's like, no, you're winning for you because you want to win. You're going to do that anyway. Right. You're not doing anything different.
At least he's honest about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why later it was really interesting, I thought, that she tells him, they have another argument again. I forget even why, but I think it's because he tells her, I'm going to win this for you. And then that pisses her off.
They have an argument that, okay, so she won't tell him his name. And then a lot of their interactions, like to move through the like whole substantive or not conversation, a lot of their interactions are through her lady's maid. Yeah. Sending messages while he's backstage getting ready or whatever the fuck you call it.
Side note, I kind of thought they were going to put the lady's maid with Roland. Like, there was a little chemistry there. Oh. There was a moment where he seemed like really into her, and I thought that there was going to be a secondary romance between them, but it never developed.
That would have been cute. Yeah. Dare to dream, Blair. So a lot of their interactions are truly whisper down the lane.
Yeah.
And they have one good interaction. She asks, what are you going to wear to the ball? And he's like, I don't know. What am I going to wear to the ball? Why? And she's like, well, my lady wants to dress to match you, meaning like, let's go together.
Yeah.
And so there's a delightful dance montage where he is learning in the stables how to dance from the woman who makes the armor. Mm-hmm. And it's very sweet. And he gets all dolled up somehow. And he continues to be like, the count keeps trying to embarrass him and like expose that he's a fraud.
Yeah.
But at every turn, he just is charming, and Lady Jocelyn kind of saves his ass when the people are like, show us a dance from Gelderland. And he's like, it's similar to what you're doing, but a little bit more different. And she's like, let's just dance. And then they do this incredible dance number.
Uh-huh. It looked really
fun. Yeah, it's not even that it was like particularly challenging, right? It's not like intense choreography, but everyone just starts like grooving. And the fact that they're playing the song, what is it, Golden Year?
I don't know.
It's like very fun and modern music. It's like a 70s classic. And they're just like vibing, having a party. And it's just like so delightful to behold. I feel like that's the most we get to see, really, the two of them actually just flirting with each other and having fun in a more direct way, because everything else seems to be whispered down the lane up until that point.
Yes. And Adamar, of course, is not dancing at all. He's fuming in the corner.
He's brooding from a large banquet table.
Yeah.
And so things are vibing, but then he loses a round. And is all sorts of angry about it. He's
Yeah.
like all in a huff that he lost and is not handling it well. And that's a moment that she comes up to him and is like, what color do you want to wear for the ball tonight? And he's like, I don't want to fucking go to a ball. And she's like, okay. And
Mhm.
he's like super misogynistic to her because he's
Yeah.
mad he lost.
Oh, yeah, he
and
calls
she
her
is
silly
not-
girl, right?
Yes. And he's like, balls don't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. And she's like, you know, like, what is a rose if not the petals it wears? And he's
Mhm.
like, there's no fucking use for a rose. There's no use for a petal or a flower. And she's like, I'm sorry, you're out here on your horse with your stick, and I'm supposed to take that seriously, which I
Yeah.
love for her.
Uh-huh.
And he gets frustrated and he says, you're just a silly girl, which is so fucked up. And she's like, better to be a silly girl than to be a silly boy with a horse and a stick.
Mhm.
And so he fucked it up. He fucked it up royally.
He sure did.
In my opinion. And then they're at odds for a while. He's like working the circuit in other cities.
Mhm.
And it's only then, like many weeks, it seems like weeks or months later, that he is going to Paris for a big tournament and wants to write her a letter to meet him there. And that's when they all put their heads together to write this letter.
Yes.
Where he, by the by, never says I'm sorry.
Yeah. He never said, sorry, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That was mean of me.
I was a dick.
Yeah, I was being a dick. Yeah, I wish he would have apologized for that more. And she's such a strong character. I love her personality. And she, like, even when she's talking to her lady's maid or something, she says something like, you know, to the effect of, men always just want women to be silent and expect us to just sit around and like look pretty. And I don't want that in my life.
Mhm.
I need a man who
Mhm.
is interested to like hear my thoughts and for me to
Mm-hmm.
be my own person.
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly get a strong contrast between Heath Ledger, who seems to like going back and forth with her and hearing her talk, but he is still a little bit like, well, you're just a silly girl. And Adamar, who is straight up, at some point he says to Heath Ledger, like, yeah, I do see her as an object to just like adorn my house with. She's a
Yes.
possession for me to have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because Adamar, basically it becomes the goal to defeat Adamar. Like,
Mhm.
he's like, all of these tournaments don't mean shit unless I'm getting to beat this guy.
Yeah.
And Adamar is in the army, and so he gets whisked away to the battlefield. So he's not in a lot of the tournaments, which I think
Yeah.
is frustrating to Heath, generally speaking. And
Mhm.
so when they finally do reunite at the final tournament, they're standing there in front of, I guess, the royalty for the introductions, and there's this interaction they have where Adamar's like,
Yeah.
it seems like you've gotten trophies and horses and women since I've been gone. And Heath Ledger's like, is that the order you put them in? And he's
Mhm.
like, honestly, yeah, with some exceptions. And he looks at Jocelyn as like, she would make a lovely trophy. And he's like, oh, there's a sweet line he says where like, he says something about like, is she your target? He
Yeah.
asks Heath Ledger's like, oh, is she your target? And he says, no, she's the arrow.
Yeah.
Which I think is really lovely.
Yeah, that was really
Um,
sweet. Yeah.
But Adamar is basically like, I'm in talks with her dad to get married to her. She's going to be mine. It's hilarious you think you could ever beat me, which is a thing that continues to happen throughout the film.
Yeah. Which actually, by that point in the movie, Heath Ledger and Jocelyn had already had sex, right?
Oh, they had been together.
Yeah, they'd been together.
Yeah. So we cut ahead. But the letter is written after he fucks up and doesn't apologize, but this letter does the trick. And she
Mhm.
says, I'll meet you in Paris. And she sends back a kiss by way of Alan Tudyk. And it's the cutest little moment
It's
because
so
he's like, what did
cute.
she send me? What did she send me? What did she send me? He's like truly a kid with like waiting for his Christmas present. And he's like, did she send a
Yeah.
token? Did she send a token? And Alan Tudyk's like, she did. And he's like, well, what is it? What is it? And he kisses him. And then you see Heath Ledger's response. He's like confused and then like, and like
Yeah.
scampers around. He's like, did you see? She kissed me. She kissed me. He's like Buddy
he's like
the
running
elf.
around. It's
Yes!
so cute.
It's so cute. And so she comes to
Mhm.
Paris and they meet in a chapel. And which is kind of where he weirdly followed her the first time they met to be like, who the hell are you? You're interesting.
Yeah.
And at that point, he couldn't even get her name out of her. But now here they are at another church, which I suppose they meet at these churches because it's like a respectable public place for them to
be I guess.
As man and woman.
I think it's also just because it's a nice set to be on.
And she says, like, I love to come, because he asks about what's the deal with the churches, and she's like, I love to look at the stained glass. It's so bright and vivid in this really otherwise dreary world. And we see their whole interaction from a wide shot. That whole scene happens from a wide lens, which I thought was really interesting as a choice, that like we see them walking the whole length of this church and going back and forth. It's like very much they like are kind of like yo-yoing with each other physically. Yeah. And she's asking for her poem and he goes to her boobs and she's like,
your breasts.
This sucks. Stop it. What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, how can I prove my love to you? She's like, do you mean that seriously? He's like, yes. Yeah. How?
Yeah. And that's when then he's like, I'll win for you. And she's like, no, lose for me.
And
you want to win for you.
Yes.
And to actually challenge your ego, if you love me, you will lose.
And he gets so angry. And she's like,
he's pissed.
Then you don't love me. If you're saying you love me, you have to sacrifice something. And you're not gonna. And so he's all angry. And somewhere in this interaction, I think it's the scene where they're getting heated and a priest guy comes up to her and is like shushing them. She's like, why the fuck are you shushing me? Shush him. Don't just shush me. And sends him away.
Said, don't shush me and not him. That's not fair. Get out of my face.
Yes. She like fully like yells at this priest. I'm like, yes, get it. Get it, Jocelyn.
Yes. I love her.
And she's had throughout, there have been several interactions in these churches with a priest who is like, it must be so hard to be beautiful. I'll pray for you that you'll get ugly soon so that you won't just be an object, basically. Yeah. So she is very aware that her beauty is the currency and is looking for someone who can be a person with her and see her and meet her in all of her qualities, including her wit and her stubbornness and her voice. And I love that she is like, lose. Go lose. Do it.
Lose. And he's pissed about it, but he does it. And he gets his ass kicked.
He gets his ass whooped. And it's halfway through, and she's loving it. You're watching her, her like humiliation kink is happening.
She like can't believe it. Yeah.
She stands up and is like holding onto a pillar with this mischievous glint in her eye, being like, oh my God. She's like falling and she's getting wet watching it. She's like, oh my God, he loves me. And everyone is like, this is painful to watch. And he's back with his buds getting basically ye old PT done on his arm. And she sends her lady's maid to be like, I have word from my lady. And she says, if you love her, you will win the tournament. And so he's so angry, but he gets the go ahead to be like, all right, go do your thing. Go do it.
Yeah.
And he does. He gets to the final thing. Is this where it's with Count Adamar?
No, because it's after this one where he's like all beat up and he's laid up in his bed afterward that she comes to see him and they have sex.
Yeah. Yeah. So he wins the tournament and is all wounded in this bed. You guys, these tents are not janky. I need you to know this.
They're nice tents.
The tents, it feels like in Harry Potter when you go in, when they're at the Wizarding World Cup and you go into these tents and it's like a whole beautiful home inside. It feels like that. It's lots of diaphanous sheer fabrics. Like you walk into the tent and then there's like a little vestibule and then these sheer curtains that she parts.
And like a real bed.
And he's on this real bed with all this beautiful tapestry-like bedding. Cozy as hell. It's cozy as hell. You would pay good money on Airbnb to rent that tent today.
It's glamping for sure.
It's a glamping tent. Absolutely. And I want to know how you felt about their sex scene, their love scene. What did you notice? What did you like?
It was actually super interesting because we didn't see much. We see them kiss ultimately, and then they sort of like fumble off the screen together into the bed, and it fades to black, and it's the next day. So we don't actually get a lot of the sex scene, but it's clear what happened. I liked a lot that Chaucer sees her going to his room or his tent, and he says, "Bed her well, my lady." He's like excited for him.
He's like, Guinevere visits
Lancelot.
Bed her well,
Yeah.
my lady.
Yeah. So he's having his little dramatic writer's moment. The way they talk to each other was sweet. And it's one of those interesting things where it's like, I like them together, but they don't actually have anything in common, have like any substantive conversation. I don't know what their relationship is actually built on other than attraction.
Nah.
But it was cute. She like hurts him a little bit because she like leans over on him and it's on his broken rib or some shit. And he's like, "I'm fucked up." Like the surgeon has been here and said, "My ribs are basically
she's like, "Should I get a
broken."
surgeon?" And he's like, "They've been. I ain't well." But he's like,
I'm fucked up.
my dad always said, like, you have to take the good with the pain. And she's like, she's so fucking mischievous. She loves this power. She's like, "Did I cause the pain?
Did I do that?
Did I do that?" And then she's like, "Am I to cause the good as well?"
Yeah.
And then
she does.
Yeah, it's so, I love it. And then they do what I can only describe. Tell me what, I want to know if you know what I'm going to say I loved in their physical interaction.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say.
I
but
had
they were very
Nat
cute.
rewind this. They have what feels like, have you ever seen two puppies playing where they meet each other for the first time and they like are sniffing each other's faces? They do that. They kiss, and then they're like close to each other's faces and they go like with their noses. They do like a little like nose play.
Just a little nuzzle.
I loved it. It was so cute. But it wasn't like a nose nuzzle where the noses are touching. It wasn't like this. It was like a It was so playful.
Very playful.
It was so playful and cute. I was watching it. I was like, "Yes, nose play." And Nat came running into the room and was like, "What? I missed it." I was like, "They did this sweet nose moment." And they're like, "Play back the tape. Let's rewind, baby."
Wait, okay. So I want to ask you from a behind the screen perspective, is something like that choreographed? Is it written in the script? Do they work through that ahead of time? Do they just try it out and then be like, "Oh yeah, that was cool. Let's do that again in the next take"? Like, how does that work?
It depends. I mean, in that era, it was all do it, because there weren't intimacy coordinators. And a lot of the time, even now, like kissing intimacy is often not super high touch choreography all the time. It depends on the values of the director or like the investment of the director and other folks in that storytelling of kissing as a storytelling moment. My value is that kissing is such a storytelling moment. And I think because there is still this idea that like intimacy coordinators are like the boundaries police, which is not helpful narrative. It's like, well, why would we need you? They said they're okay with kissing, they'll just kiss. And it's like, bitch, I am a storyteller. I am a choreographer. I'm here to make it look good. And so it depends. There are some scenes where the script will be written out pretty detailed in terms of like what happens in what order. And sometimes it's as vague as like they make out and fade off screen. And so what those beats look like might need more clarity. Sometimes if it's depending on the nature of the scene, there'll be a rehearsal day before people are on set or a few rehearsal days before people are on set so that you're not wasting the light and the space and the location and all of that, figuring that stuff out on set because that's, time is money is very much the energy and there's a lot of urgency on a set. So a lot of that theoretically should have happened before, and what's happening on set is kind of tweaking moments. Some folks really like a very on to the moment choreographed thing. That's really grounding for some actors. And depending on the nature of the storytelling, if it's like a higher higher intensity scene, or if there's like a lot of moving parts or really specific shots people are wanting, you want that specificity. But for some folks, it's like, cool, there's going to be maybe 3 or 4 kisses here. Open mouth is fine. We don't need to see any tongue. Everybody keep your tongues in your mouths. The energy is playful. And then through that playground you have set, people kind of improv within that. You want to, I mean, ultimately you want to trust everybody to do their job well. Yeah. And I think we have a pretty large idea in our society that actors and artists are somehow separate from the rest of society and magically don't have any hangups or purity culture background or sexual shame or like weirdness about sex and intimacy. But a lot of people do. Yeah. A lot of people do, whether or not you're performing it as a character. So that's the long answer to your question.
Interesting. Well, thank you. And I guess speaking of purity culture, something else I found really interesting about, like, I guess the movie overall and this scene in particular, they really don't make a big deal out of it. Like they have he's the defender of Italian virginity. But other than that, they don't ever bring up like, is she a virgin? Is he a virgin? Is it okay? Like, is it drama that they're having sex? It seems pretty casual. Yeah. And even then when Adamar's like, I'm going to talking to her dad, I'm going to marry her. She's going to be my prize. There's not the little like, oh, really? Well, I already fucked her. So she's like ruined or something. Like I've already claimed her in some way. They don't even go that route at all. And it doesn't come up. And I thought that was really interesting for the way I have a preconception about this time period policing sexuality in that way. And in the way that I think even modern times, or at least in 2001, we even were kind of policing virginity in relationships in that way.
Yeah. There's an allusion to the expectations and system, but it is not, we don't see it enacted in this relationship, right? There's, like you said, protector of Italian virginity. There is him saying, I'm talking with her dad, which is like, this is how things are done. There's when he eventually gets outed for not being noble, she comes directly to him and is like, you have to run. The police are here. And there's this whole scene in which everyone who loves him is saying, please run. We don't want to see you carried away and in the stocks. Like, please don't do that. And he refuses to because of his honor. He's like, I am a knight. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have nothing to hide. I am going to be a knight. And she and Heath Ledger are having this interaction where he's like, you don't want to be poor with me. He's like, you would live with me on the run with the pigs? And she was like, yeah. The poor get to marry for love.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting too, because the movie doesn't talk too much about class stuff. It sort of starts to touch on it more at the end. I mean, there's the fact that
the whole premise is
poor,
class stuff.
But they don't really talk about it a lot until towards the end, where they show like Heath Ledger's dad making the hard decision to like, all right, I'm going to let my young son go and work for this knight so that he can be a squire, because I know that that'll offer him a better life. He'll be taken care of. He loves knights, and I can't really afford to take care of him, even though this is hard for me and I love my son. And then we also get these like where the little girl who's a big fan of William is like, she kind of is into knights and wants to be a knight. But she also is like, I live in this poor part of town. And then also this moment where he's like, are you serious? You, noble lady, want to live with me and we'd be poor and like bring the pigs inside in the winter and sleep in our room with the pigs? And she's like, yeah, I would do that. Because, yeah, like you said, the one luxury that the poor do get is to marry for love in a way that she does not have that option in her life.
It does make me wonder, the it feels like the only like grounded in reality conversation the two of them have in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And to be fair, she thinks that he is noble up until that point. So maybe that wasn't a conversation that in her mind was one that even needed to happen because it wasn't an issue. However, it makes me wonder the logistics of like, okay, so now he's knighted by Prince Edward. He's officially Sir William Thatcher. He gets his name back. Is he going to be noble for real now? Like, is he going to have money?
I don't know, because he doesn't have land. It's not like he owns land.
Right. And is he just going to like joust his little heart out and then have money from jousting? Is that the logistics?
I guess. And sell the little gold trophies that they get. Although now that you mention it, I wonder how much she knew or suspected, because obviously his whole fucking name is fully made up. Von Liechtenstein from Gelderland is like not a real place, I don't think. And he, at the banquet where Adamar's like, show us a little dance from where you're from, William Ulrich. And he's like fumbling because there is no dance. Mm-hmm. She jumps in
to save his ass
and like sort of acts like she knows it. Mm-hmm. But she knows that that's not a thing when she does that.
Yeah. So she catches on pretty early. I think in that ball scene is probably, you're right, where she starts to catch on. And then when they're in the tent,
something's up with him.
In the tent, before they fuck, before they kiss, before anything, she's like, she greets him as Ulrich and is like, my lady's maid tells me your valet calls you William. Is that true? And he says, yeah. She's like, okay, your name doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is her way of saying, I know something's up. You're faking an identity in some way. And I am interested in you, not in all the bullshit. I think is what we're supposed to take from that.
I think so too.
But the logistics of it would be, I'm just curious, like, okay, now what?
Right. It'd be a real problem because, like, I don't even know legally, like, if she were to just, can she just run away and marry him? Is her dad's permission required legally in some way in this time period? I don't know.
But I think because this is such like an anachronistic film, right? Like you have this blending of time period and convention and language so much in it. I think we're supposed to disband our, belief and be like, it'll work out. Which is something that I think most of these movies we're watching, it's like, don't ask these follow-up questions. Stop it. Just let them be happy. And it's like, okay, but he still has, like, he might have a title now. He got no name. He has no...
Yeah.
Like, he's got no
money. He doesn't have a house.
He's got nowhere to live.
Yeah. He got nowhere to live. I don't know what the deal is with his friends. If they have a home.
Right.
They both wanted to, like, go back to England at the very beginning. And then they talked about when they came to London that it had been, like, decades or at least 5 years, I think was the shortest period of time it had been for one of them.
6 months for one of them.
Oh, 6 months.
6 months, I think 3 years, 5 years, and then 12 for Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have questions about this, but also I don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to be like, yay, they're together.
No, yeah, we're supposed to say, hell yeah. And then they played the Queen song at the end. So that was awesome.
Yes. This movie, more so than some of the ones we have watched, is a real caricature of the rom-com as a genre that it's not about, like when people say, I love you, they mean I lust you. It's like we're not seeing love. This was not a love story. This was an attraction, chemistry, lust, commitment to following that story.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but like call it that, because I think we, young Veronica watching this, would have been like, and then it just continues that way. Life's logistics don't matter. Don't ask that question. Just be in it. And then we have people who are like, what do you mean love's supposed to be enough? And in reality, love is not always enough, you know? And that it makes people feel like it's a moral failing when things, oh my God, the zoomies my cat is having. Are you seeing her run behind
I'm
me?
seeing it. The zoomies are great. That was a tight circuit. She came back immediately.
She did. She's doing laps. Girl, you okay? Hard to know.
I think that's an interesting point because now that you mention it, I think a lot of these, and maybe what has frustrated me is that in a literal sense, like romance movies are more about a sort of erotic fantasy and not an actual love story about building along like a relationship with someone, a deep
whether or
connection
not
with them.
whether or not it's long term, right?
Whether or not it's long term, but building a deep connection with someone rather than sexual chemistry being so electric and exciting and fun and finally getting to be together after something is keeping you apart. And that part feels more like an erotic fantasy and what is really appealing to people. But it's interesting that it seems like we have this cultural game we have to play where we have to dress that up as like, well, that's the love story though. And I don't know if that's because we're saying 100% those are always a one-to-one thing, or if it's because there's some discomfort around acknowledging sexual desire or erotic desire in fantasy, and that it is fine for that to be the point of the story. It doesn't have to be a love story for it to be fun and enjoyable and positive. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. It makes me wonder, a chicken and egg sort of question is, do we create these movies because people look back on that really exciting newness and those exciting feelings with such fondness that they just want to like watch it and bask in it forever because it is the beginning of a love story? However, it is the fun, shiny, erotic, unknown, will they, won't they thing. And that is really exciting to watch and fun to watch. It's fun to watch people overcome obstacles and finally get to be together. And I wonder, does that being the only stories that we see sets us up to then be like, ugh, and then what? Is it all a letdown? And the answer is no, it's not all a letdown, but we're made to feel like deep knowing and comfort and stability and whatever other things come after the limerence and feel good drug chemicals that are going on when you're feeling crushes and attraction for the first time. Once those begin to naturally fade, because that's what the body does over time, I think we're supposed to feel like that's sad, and that it's some sort of moral failing that this spark is,
oh God, the spark
is not always at an 11. And that's not to say that you can't, and many people do, cultivate moments of that erotic connection, and that is a practice, right? I think I don't think
it's something you can do.
Right. I don't think you and I would be in this field if we didn't believe that kind of connection, maybe even like I would say an even better connection, which is like that feeling plus deep knowing and trust and safety with, and this is not just in monogamy or long-term relationships, but like this can happen in many styles of relationships. Like that is delicious, and that is worth finding intention to cultivate. However, I think it all kind of like falls into this narrative that like we are out of control of this, and it is either there forever or it goes away, and that means that the relationship should end.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think the problem I have with the spark is that it creates the idea, like you said, that it happens to you and it's out of your control, and when it's gone, the relationship is dead. And not that it also doesn't have to be so dramatic all the time. Like a healthy relationship, it is boring in a good way because it's relatively predictable. Not that there's not passion, not that it's not erotic or having a lot of fun together or a lot of affection, but that is something you're co-creating intentionally. And it's not because of unknown or random chaos that happens to you in the relationship, of random fights and conflict and problems that arise from the outside world at your relationship. Those don't need to be the source of the spark of passion and joy and connection.
Right. Yeah. I think at the heart of all of it, many of us just want to feel present and alive. And the early stages of a crush or romance or a relationship of any kind, whether it's one night or 2 weeks or whatever, those chemicals that come through our brain during those times, we do feel really like locked in on our life, right? We feel in it in a way that when things are more stable, it can feel like that automatic drive just kind of kicks in and people are just bopping along.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if we were to find other ways in these fucked up systems we live in to more regularly connect with ourselves and our life as it's happening, whether that's through art or through dance or through sex or through like community or ritual. Like, what are these other ways that aren't just that early spark that we can feel present and like locked into our life as it happens?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's the idea of the commitment also, like you said, being so in it, like the fantasy of being on either end of, like, someone is willing to lose, to get their ass kicked badly, to be humiliated publicly for me because I asked for it. Or I am willing to, like, just subject myself to so much physical and social harm. Like I can take it because I'm strong and because I'm in love and I believe in this. Like being on either side of that and feeling that certainty is really appealing.
Yes, absolutely. I want to be clear that I can't speak for you, but I'm not trying to like shit on romance and lust and attraction and that being a delicious part of relationship. I think I'm just noticing that not the only, but the majority of romance, at least in the genres we've been watching, really are about that early stage of lust and chemistry and erotic attraction. And I wish we got to see more of a love letter to other parts of relationship as well, because I think culturally that could shift our personal experience of that being valid and worthy and not a lack of the beginning, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's been coming across in what you're saying. I was just reiterating too that like the certainty, the confidence you feel when you have that spark that, and then when you're choosing to create it and cultivate it later in the relationship, when it's not just happening to you out of nowhere, it's a lot harder and you maybe don't feel as confident.
Yeah, because I feel like even in movies, we see all the time people be like, it shouldn't be this hard. And that's, you know, a relative scale. We get to decide what is too hard or like is hard in ways that feel aligned and just like, yeah, this takes work, but it is not a job. It is not like climbing an uphill mountain and being miserable the whole time, right? Figuring out what is that sweet spot of taking intention versus, you know, beating your head against a wall to keep something happening that maybe is best to release.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be interested in we could try and find more movies that are about the middle of a relationship.
Yeah, that aren't just like, we hate each other now.
Yeah.
We're all kind of miserable.
Be a lot of those.
Right. We're all kind of miserable. So let's like have some infidelity is usually, I think, that story. But I bet we can find it.
We can find, well, you know what? We'll look for it and we'll watch those ones too and comment on them. But I guess for A Knight's Tale, I want to hear favorite small detail, whether it is a particular line, a detail about a scene, staging, costuming, acting, whatever.
For me, it really is the nose nuzzle and the arrow. I think those are my two favorite moments.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
I think my two favorite small details are that the top of Adamar's lance is a fist.
Yeah.
That is really, really funny to me. I love that. And also the one part of the intro that Chaucer does for William one time that's like, he spent a whole year in silence in Greece just to better understand the sound of a whisper. I don't understand why. I don't even understand that sentence. Maybe I need to spend a year in silence to contemplate.
To better understand the sound of a whisper. On that note, what is your healthy ever after for these two? Healthier. Let's be real.
My healthier ever after, I feel like William needs a little time off from the jousting. I get that that's his thing. I don't want him to abandon it. But his body maybe needs some time to recover. And I would love for him and Jocelyn to get to spend some quality time like outside of the adrenaline cycle of the competition, getting to know each other, talking through how many pigs they want to have, all that good stuff.
I would love for there to be an off season in jousting. Like, is it like baseball or another sport where there's an off season? Would love that. Because I think you're right. I think he needs a little sabbatical. I don't want him to like give up what he loves, right? His whole entire life, he's been wanting to get to do this. I'm not here to yuck his yum. And I think you're right. Some time to like, what happens when you've achieved your dream? Like, who are you? Yeah. What then? And like figuring out his sense of self as like a fuller person, not just rooted in his lack of nobility, because now he has it. So like, who do you want to be? And whether or not that happens all with Jocelyn or not, I think is exciting to see, would be exciting to see. I'd love for them to maybe have some one-on-one time and just really get to know each other. See, the boring shit. I'm like, maybe they go to Greece and they hang out and they
spend a year in silence.
Fuck a lot and fight and laugh and figure out how they do conflict and figure out how they repair, and, the juicy shit that is that we don't get to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe for him to spend some time with his dad. He finally found him after really so long.
Good. Yeah. I think some good dad time would be excellent.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, find a financial planner. We need to figure out how you're going to keep going.
Yeah, for real.
Got to put some money away, especially if you have a gambler as your MC. I think that's a crucial piece.
Something has got to be done. I mean, they seemed like he had a hold on it for the most part throughout the movie, but then they were doing some gambling as a group, and it feels risky. I feel like Chaucer's on the precipice, and he needs some Gamblers Anonymous kind of support or something.
Yes, he does.
Something.
Or like, just make sure he doesn't have access to all of their winnings.
Yeah.
We can't have a Lord Featherington situation.
Maybe kissing Heath Ledger awoke something in Alan Tudyk. And then he can think about the chemistry he has with Chaucer. And you know what? Maybe he can manage the money for them. And that's part of their deal.
That's hot. I like that.
I like that. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And on that note, I hear the bell ringing. We have to leave our Canterbury Tales class and head to math. So All
right, mash that button for me.
Mash that button. You press pause. Be kind, rewind.
Press pause. We're going to have to lick that calf again.
What?
That was another phrase she would say if we were doing something bad and she was like threatening that we would have to redo it. Y'all going to have to lick that calf again.
Lick a calf?
Lick that calf again. All
right, well, let's go lick it, y'all.
Get licking.
Get to licking. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Mom's Not Home Till 6. Leave us a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you found us. Pitch us your alternate ending or send suggestions to momsnothometill6@gmail.com, spelled with no punctuation and the numeral 6. You can find more from us by following us on Instagram at momsnothometill6 or on Blue Sky at momsnothome. Find more from Veronica by following her on Instagram at The Dress Rehearsal, or support the podcast financially on Patreon at The Dress Rehearsal. We'd like to extend our gratitude to the queer and trans communities, past and present, who've made it possible to be the people we are today, and to you for listening. Now be sure to change that TV channel back to something appropriate before Mom gets home, and we'll catch you next time.